I'm excited today because I get to highlight a local Canadian supplier of leather goods, and in particular, and stationery related, notebook covers. Join me today as we take a closer look at Popov Leather. Earlier on in the year, I was tinkering with my analog and stationery toolkit, as I often do. And in particular, I was looking at my number of notebooks versus notebook covers. And if you're anything like me, you don't have enough notebook covers to go with your notebooks. I just seem to have a lot of notebooks. So I did what any person in this day and age typically does. I went onto the internet and started searching for notebook covers. In particular, I was looking for leather. I love the feel of leather. I love the weight of leather. I love the old school charm of leather. I love the aesthetic of leather. I love everything to do with leather. And so in particular, I was looking around for leather notebook covers. I was pleasantly surprised to discover Popov Leather right here in my own backyard, so to speak. They're a province over for me. It's still a bit of a haul. They reside in Nelson, BC. They being Popov Leather, and they've been around for a while, which was even more neat to discover. I think their company is in a stage of exponential growth, and they're getting a lot of visibility and traction, at least here in Canada. But they also ship into the States as well. If you are from the States, they have some amazing notebook products or leather products that I think would be pretty relevant for you to check out if you are from the States. Being Canadian and wanting to support local Canadian suppliers, I was very intrigued. I reached out to Popov and suggested that we could collaborate on this video in particular, where I get to highlight some of their products. Ryan Popov, who's the co-founder of Popov, was so kind to send me a few samples for me to check out. So I've had these notebook covers in particular for about 3 months now, and I think that's a pretty good time to really, at least for me, really figure out how they play within my stationery toolkit, how my day-to-day use of them has been, and really evaluate the beauty of these products as well as their functionality more than anything else. A little bit of Popov before I jump into the specifics of which notebook covers I got. Ryan Popov is the co-founder of Popov Leather, and he started out in this very much as a hobby, just as he describes on the website. And I'll put a link to the website below, which by the way is fantastic and really good photography and product highlights, but also a really nice mom and pop shop feel to this company and who they are. And their about section is absolutely wonderful and inviting and somewhat hilarious as well. Anyhow, if you go on to their website, as Ryan describes, he started out with a hobby in mind, and it very quickly grew into a full-time business, and they are doing really well. They've been featured in a few different magazines here. They've also been able to sell out of retailers like Wonder Pens in the past, and they, as I mentioned, are shipping down into the States as well. They're celebrating, at the time of this video, their 11th year anniversary, so there is a sale on as well, which I'll talk about, which you can check out. So that's Popov in a nutshell. Like I said, I'm focusing particularly on stationery items, notebook covers in particular, but they also do other leather goods. They also sell other leather goods, I should say. Everything from wallets, belts, hats, totes, toiletry kits, dop kits, but the leather itself is really beautiful, and how it's worked and the craftsmanship that goes into it. I was genuinely taken away with what I received, and I think it says a lot about the passion that the Popov team really puts into every single one of the goods that goes out of their doors. That being said, let's take a closer look at the notebooks that I got. Two in particular here are the A6 and the A5 variation, and they come in a couple of different colorways. And then the other one that I got here is a passport cover for my passport. So we're going to take a closer look, starting with the A5 here. I'm going to set aside the passport and the Hobonichi A6 for now. And here is the A5 Popov Leather notebook. This is in the English tan color, and the tiger's thread here is in a tan color as well. beautiful to look at, in my humble opinion. It's got really good characteristics, some darker variation, some light variation. The leather comes from the US. It's full grain leather. You can tell it's got a hefty weight to it, solid feel, and I can't say enough good things about it. But we're going to try and say a few things about it that are a bit more pointed here. Right off the bat, this costs 125 Canadian dollars or 92 US dollars at the time of this video. It's usually discounted by 20% either at Black Friday. They have their 11-year anniversary going on at the time of this video as well, so you can get it for a little bit cheaper right now. One of the first things you'll notice here is I've got my Novelure fountain pen inside a double interlocking pen loop. So if you're a fan of pen loops, this will be great for you. And if you are not a fan of pen loops, this might still be okay for you, and I'll explain in a second. But do keep in mind that there are pen loops that come with this notebook cover. Beautiful stitching here and here. This is the tiger's thread, which, as they describe, is very robust and shouldn't come undone. And you'll notice I've got a little bit of engraving here. The engraving is nice and subtle. This is specifically something that I'd asked for just in terms of comparison. This is the Hobo Nietzsche or E6 cover here, which is not engraved. And you can tell that the engraving is very subtle. It's shallow comparatively. A little bit darker in terms of the engraving or embossing. Oh yeah, the other thing I should mention right off the bat, these two notebook covers are the exact same color choice. That is, they are both English tan. But you can see how much variation there is in the color itself. This English tan here for the A5 is a lot more richer or darker, and I think it's just based on which leather run they're using. Some consideration there. So speaking of color choice, there are a few different color choices here on their website, which you can take a look at. They have Heritage Brown, which is a lot darker. They have a Natural, which is, according to the website pictures, in my opinion, a little bit darker. And they have a Black at the time of this video. They also have different thread color choices, particularly tan and cream. Cream is going to be a little bit more white, according to the website, I think. I think the black comes with a red thread option as well. The notebook cover, in terms of dimensions, this is 9 inches tall by 7.25 inches wide. So I'm going to just pull the pen out of the loops. Now, the loops are quite generous. They're not elastic, they're leather loops here. But the Novelure pen that I have is an oversized pen. It's quite thick in diameter, and it's a little bit snug in the loops, but I'm using it just to stretch it out a little bit there. So here we go. Opening this guy up, you will notice that there are 3 card slots here. The stitching on the front cover is to create the card slot and large sleeve option here. So you have a large sleeve in here, 3 card slots with some stitching to differentiate the card slots. I'm going to pull my notebook out for a second. There's the back sleeve to slip your notebook cover into. And then the pen loops here are riveted in. They're not going anywhere. They're robust. They're very, very solid. And I don't think it's coming undone anytime soon. The back cover has the same stitching, no card slots on that. And again, the same pattern on the thread coming through. That's really it. This is the thickness of the notebook cover. And now, typically with notebook covers, there's 2 options. You can slip the front cover into the front sleeve and the back cover into the back sleeve. I like to just slip in the back cover under the back sleeve here, just to give me the option of using that front sleeve as an extra spot for extra paper, or for other paper or ephemera or whatever you want to use. Now, as I mentioned about the pen loop, so I'm going to open this up here to a page. The pen loop on some other notebook covers, like the Galen Leather, the pen loop tends to be a little bit more, I guess, further inside the notebook cover. What I like about the Popov is the pen loop is off to the side, and in my opinion, doesn't actually get in the way of writing. Your hand may brush up against it, but I don't think it's a very big distraction. I know on my wife's Galen Leather slim notebook cover, I find the pen loop to be a bit distracting. It stays out of the way, which I really, really like. Now, because of the front sleeve and the back sleeve having that threading and creating that sleeve, you'll notice that the front sleeve and the back sleeve have a thicker height compared to the rest of the notebook cover. So it's folded in and stitched together. What that does is it provides a little bit of a raised bump. I haven't necessarily noticed it in my writing experience in the last 3 months here. I will say that as have gotten to the last few pages of the notebook, it becomes a little bit prominent as I write. That's something to keep in mind, and that's one of the things that I would say is just, I'm not sure if it's a drawback, but it's more of a consideration that you'll want to have as you're writing with it. I really like the notebook cover. I think it is quite a lot of notebook cover for 125 Canadian dollars, 92 US dollars. You're getting something that's high quality. Popov Leather also offers a lifetime guarantee. Due to if there's any faults in the craftsmanship, they'll happily replace it. But I can tell just with 3 months of everything I've thrown at this notebook cover here, this is going to last a long. So that's the A5 of the notebook cover. Here is the Hobonichi A6. Again in the English tan, and again, just for comparison, according to the website, these are both the same choice of color, and I picked English tan. However, you'll notice the A6 notebook cover is significantly lighter. A5 behind and the A6 here, it's obviously a lot smaller. In terms of smaller, the A6 is 4.72 inches wide by 6.5 inches high, same thickness. I've got the oboe inside of it right now, so same design functionality as the A5, the dual pen interlocking loop. I've got a pilot vanishing point in here. I find it's actually quite snug and perfect, but I can fit the Navaler oversized pen in here if I so desired. Same stitching, and I think it's got the same color options as the A5 in terms of the notebook color choice. The Heritage Brown, the Natural, the Black. I went with the English Tan and the Tan Thread. Opening this up, instead of 3 card slots, you have 2 card slots. You've got that front sleeve again. Same thing with the pen loops being riveted right in. Those aren't going anywhere. They're very robust. And again, in my humble opinion, the pen loops don't interfere with the functionality of the notebook. I find it quite pleasant. That's really it with the Hobonichi A6. The cost of this guy is 111 Canadian dollars or 82 US dollars. Again, and this is at the time of this video, you can usually find a 20% discount or similar on the Popov Leather website, so I would check that out. This one isn't engraved. I just wanted to get an understanding of what the engraving would look like comparatively. If I were to do this over again, I would definitely get the engraving done. You do pay a little bit extra for the engraving. I can't remember off the top of my head how much extra, but just keep that in mind also if you are considering that. The only reason I went with the A6 cover here, I don't really have very many A6 notebooks, is, well, A, I got the Hobonichi, and B, so much of the Hobonichi planner, the Techo culture seems to be about what you're wrapping the notebook in. There's a whole cult-like fan devotion, at least within the communities that I've been partaking in, that really put a lot of dedication and thought into what accompanies the Hobonichi. I think the Popov is very, very brilliant. They have specifically catered a product description to the Hobonichi A6. Both of these, I should say, the A6 and the A5, also on their website, when you take a look at it, they'll talk about the Leuchtturm A5, another A6 notebook there. Keep that in mind. I was a little bit confused when I first read the website, and I did confirm with Ryan. Everything except the Moleskine A5s are effectively the same notebook cover. The idea being on their website is if you have a particular notebook like the Leuchtturm, all they're trying to do is tell you that'll fit. I think the other thing to mention here on both of these notebook covers is around the perimeter, you'll see that there is an excess of leather around it. So if you are concerned about the slimness of your notebook cover, just keep that in mind. There is a little bit more. That's just the way they've designed it with the stitching. Same with the Hobonichi A6. So you are adding a little bit more profile to your notebooks respectively, both in the A6 and the A5. I can tell that these are going to last a long time. I think that's one of the beautiful things about leather also, is that it ages with you and it gives a character as you age with it. The last thing that I got from Popov is the passport cover. And this was more of a curiosity than anything else. I typically don't have a cover for my passport, and it's very much designed specifically for your passport. It's the same idea. They come in black with red thread and a couple of different options you can take a look at on the website. It's the same price as the Hobonichi A6, 111 Canadian dollars or 82 US dollars. However, dimensionally, this is 4.1 inches wide by 5.7 inches high, so just a little bit smaller. On the website, they describe how this passport cover can fit any passport out there, so this is meant to be universal fit. However, I did try to put my traveler's notebook passport refill in this, and it was too snug. I'm not going to show you the inside of my passport for obvious reasons, but if you're curious, that's what a Canadian passport looks like. 2 card slots, which I think is going to be really functional if you're traveling with this guy, and another sleeve in there as well. I usually keep my passport inside my traveler's notebook. However, I like the idea of having a dedicated passport cover. This was on a whim of options that Ryan provided me to review, and I thought I'd take it up. Really beautiful, gorgeous. I love the black, particularly with my black Canadian passport. I think it stands out, and it'll also help me just find it in my travel bag as I'm looking for my passport cover. There you go. The Popov Leather notebook offerings. I think they are fantastic. I'm really happy about them. I think Ryan and team have done such a great job with providing a good Canadian leather good option out there. And if you're Canadian, I highly encourage you to support them. If you're American, I highly encourage you to check them out and see if it will be a good fit for you. Thank you so much, Ryan and team. Really appreciate all the help in the back and forth, and for giving me the opportunity to review these products.